Hello, hello, hello. Woohoo. Hope. Hello, testing. Okay. Okay. Oh, finally got my stream working. Only took forever. Okay. Oh, I gotta figure out where I want to start. Okay. Sorry for anyone watching. I have to go do something real quick. So I'll be right back. And hopefully this works for a temporary fix. Do. Okay then. Cool, 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 cool. Um, Jesus. I probably should have locked my door. Oh well, it is what it is. What's up? How's it going? It's a crew of us, just you and me. How are you doing tonight? Did you change your name, Alex? Maybe, maybe not. Same name. Oh, that's right. Because they instead of showing like the display names, they changed it to like the usernames. So dumb. So I'm like at a loss. What's up with the streams? This is like your third time wiping the channel and restarting. Um, well, do you mean like before I took a break or after I took a break? Because before, well, I mean, it kind of makes sense. When I took a break, I just kind of just took everything down. And then, yeah, I feel like that pretty much explains it. Also, like, I struggle with, I guess, like a direction. Like, I love making videos and I love streaming. It's fun. Even if I'm only streaming to like 5 people. But, um, I always have like a billion thoughts or topics and I never know how to like pin one down. My last 2 streams were pretty decent because I did kind of have like a direction to go. But then I watched them back and I realized like, oh shit, my audio is terrible. Which sucked because who wants to watch a video with terrible audio? That's just not fun. It makes it really difficult to enjoy or even pay attention to what people are saying. But yeah. Like I know I enjoy politics. That's probably something I could talk about way more than anything else. But there's so much shit that like oh my god, where do we even start? Have you still been getting a handful of people in chat though? Um kind of. Usually Kick chat is pretty active. There was one guy like the other night who like was going on, but then he started getting like real aggro and was like, I want to talk about how the Democrats are failing on education. And I was like, I'm doing something right now. We can talk about that later. And then wouldn't stop, wouldn't let it go. So I just banned them from the chat. And then Twitch chat before that was actually pretty hop-in. But I know you used to have like 5 chatters a few years ago. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen anyone that normally used to come up that I haven't seen the people who used to show up in stream, but they're probably, I don't know, doing other shit or not interested in any of my topics. Which I should update my stream info. I honestly don't remember what the stream topics were back then. Yeah, I kind of just talked. I didn't really have like a set topic. I just kind of would shoot the shit. It wasn't politics. It was like probably like politics adjacent. I would say it was more like social commentary. More like I think probably like relationship based or like yeah, I guess relationship based. I actually have like a topic. Weren't you doing reactions too? I like very sparsely did reactions. Is this streaming gonna be reactions? I probably will do some reactions. In my last stream, like real stream, not like testing it, I did a reaction to a couple of different videos. One of them was kind of like a news story because I was talking about a Texas House representative that got caught having an affair with one of his staffers, and then she decided she was going to kill herself, so she set herself on fire. I'm sorry, it's not funny. And then we reacted to a video of the the guy who was running, the guy who is currently in Congress in that seat is running for re-election, and the person trying to primary him is a gun YouTuber named Brandon Herrera. So we watched his video addressing him, basically saying like, you're a terrible person, you should step down. But like everyone thinks that. It's not really anything new. The dude is pretty terrible, but so is Brandon Herrera. I don't mind him as a gun YouTuber. I would hate him. I would hate to have him as a congressional representative. But yeah, I mean, if you ever have suggestions, I could make a Discord again, and then we could put like a suggestions channel, cuz that would probably be helpful to have. Yeah, I don't keep up with any of that. I would have never known. I mean, not a lot of people would have, right? It's like, other than like the scandal of it all, it's pretty niche. Um, like politics topics. Also, a lot of people aren't really politically engaged. You know what I mean? Like there was a shit ton of people who sat out the what's it called? The election compared to last time. I mean, sorry, I'm distracted because I'm typing as I talk to you. I think during the 2021 election, Joe Biden received like the most votes for president for like any candidate ever in history, including this past election. So that just kind of goes to show like some people really aren't that involved. And even when they are, like it has to be under ideal conditions. All right, stop. Stop. I would imagine the political content would be bumping on Kick. Yeah, sometimes it depends on the day, I think. 1 second. Okay, 1 second. I'm sorry. I'll be right back. Hello, welcome. BRB, like 2 seconds. Okay, sorry, I'm back. Somebody's Nintendo Switch stopped working, and it was a problem. Okay, so what were you saying? I don't know if the streams would really get promoted on here. You know, you'd be surprised. YouTube has really good, um, like exposure. I don't really know how the algorithm works, but I mean, ultimately, if you're putting out content and it's stuff people want to see, they'll push it out. Uh, um, I'd say like of the platforms, Twitch is probably the worst because in terms of like getting exposure or growing an audience, because like you kind of already have to be big on there to get like pushed out to other people, unless some people spend the time like looking for the creators who have like one viewer, which I get some of those people, so thank you guys. I love you. Um yeah, Twitch just sucks overall, but especially for getting an audience. Yeah, it's pretty sad. You would think with the backing of like a billion-dollar company like Amazon, they would figure out how to like leverage that partnership to improve the features of their website. And then when they roll out features, it seems like it's shit that nobody cares about. So, have you been making videos lately? Haven't been keeping up. Oh yeah, I was asking you, 'cause you're saying you didn't know about the Texas stuff, which I wouldn't imagine you would. Um, unless like you lived in Texas, which I don't think you do, right? But like generally speaking, when it does come to politics, like how involved are you? And by involved, I don't mean like, do you go protesting? I mean like, but how do you keep up? How much do you keep up on what's going on? Like news wise, if that makes sense. Not very involved. Yeah, that's pretty average. When it comes to politics, okay, where do you get your headlines? Or like I guess like what kind of stuff do you see? What do you know like that's going on right now? It could be like nationally or locally. I don't remember where you said you were from. You don't have to tell me if you're not comfortable. Also, thanks for chatting. I missed having you in chat. People share news on Discord sometimes, so I get to hear the latest major Trump news and all that. Oh dang. Uh, Nothing really local, but being in a small town, it's like there's not much to report on anyway. That makes sense. Um, I know I'm asking a lot of questions. I'm just like I'm super curious now, so we can change the subject whenever you want. But when you say you get your news on Discord, is this like a Discord with like a small group of friends, or is it like a Discord for like a gaming server or a content creator? Because I'm curious, like what what people in different types of servers share in terms of news. That'd be interesting. 'Cause like a lot of the content creators are very that I follow are very political. So that shit's just like there all the time. And then anytime I'm looking at Reddit, a lot of the subreddits that I follow are hella political. um, let's see, game and music discords, people end up sharing tweets and articles in those places sometimes. That makes sense. It's kind of hard to get away from when you have like a um reality TV show president. But it's not a great source since it's mostly left leaning. Um, I wouldn't say that's necessarily true. It's good to have a balance, but much to the chagrin of people like Joseph Rogan, the truth tends to have a liberal bent. Not that it's 100% correct, but you're probably far more informed than you would be if you were watching like Fox News, which I think they did a study about that where they had a control group of people who didn't watch any news channels at all. And then they had a control group of people who were only allowed to watch Fox News. And then they had another group of people who were allowed to watch like CNN and Fox. And they found that the people who were only allowed to watch Fox News were worse informed than the people who didn't watch any news at all. And it's like, that's not good. But yeah, yeah, it is. It's good to see both sides. It is hard though to have a balanced and nuanced um accounting of things because stuff's gonna be it's the notion of like unbiased news is kind of ridiculous because every single piece of reporting is biased purely by the fact that it's a story that's being chosen to be reported on over something else, right? There's like a million different things and a million different topics people could choose to report on, but you initiate a bias in and of itself by selecting for whatever stories you choose to cover. Um, but what's been like an interesting debate that's been going on in a lot of like the political spaces that I follow is with the um presidential primaries coming up like this year, um there's been a lot of discourse on like whatever candidate is ultimately selected to represent the party, how they should be, or like what platforms they should run on in the general to garner like the widest range of support. And one of the topics that's been pretty hotly contested is like if whoever is running for president should run on like an anti-corruption platform, and more specifically if they should be vocal about going after a lot of the corruption that's been existing within the Trump administration, because it's been so brazen and like in your face. There's been countless laws that have been broken, and so many different acts and decorum that have just been like thrown in the garbage for the sake of appeasing Trump. It's kind of insane. I think I was watching like an episode of Legal Eagle. Was it Legal Eagle? Where like he was one of his lawyers, or he was listing out like every single thing that the Trump administration had done so far. It's only been a year that's been like insanely corrupt. And I probably can only remember like 5 of them off the top of my head. But it's like the crypto coin alone is insane. Using the office of the presidency to enrich yourself, that's like definitionally against the emoluments clause. And that was something that he had to divest his businesses to avoid violating in his first term. But, since now he's like God King and installed a bunch of people who are Trump dick sucks and do everything he says, he's able to get away with so much. Because before we had those guardrails in place, and then he learned, oh, if I want to do whatever I want, I can't just nominate people who are qualified for the job. I need to nominate people who are going to let me do what I tell them I want to do, or who are going to do what I say. So like he's enriched himself to the tune of like, I think it was $7 billion from his crypto coin that he started right after he won the election. That's insane. And then they pulled the same thing with the Melania coin. And then like he takes office, immediately accepts a jet from Qatar, or Qatar, sorry. I don't know how to say it right. Just openly telling his DOJ to go after his perceived enemies, and then outwardly meddling in business ventures and mergers and acquisitions that suit him. So like making sure that the is it Ellison? I don't remember. The billionaire dudes who took over CBS and then put someone in charge who is less than liberal and doesn't really care to like lead the organization in a way that is neutral when it comes to politics, that very biased. And then all the shit with the tariffs. Yeah, Larry Ellison. Thank you. Sorry. All the shit with the tariffs, saying, yeah, founder of Oracle. Yeah. See, you know more than I do. Like, yeah, legally imposing tariffs on our fucking allies and like threatening them and shit. Trying to all the shit with Elon and Doge. What a waste of money and time. Giving him and his minions like access to all of our sensitive data. And then like essentially strong arming major business leaders in the country to like commit millions of dollars to something or other. I have no idea. But there's this argument on one side where people are so pissed and there is so much rage about not only Trump, who committed an insurrection against our government, being able to be reelected again, to want to see some retribution when he leaves office because he was already under active investigation and they had him dead to rights on the different court cases that were open before he took office. So people are like, yeah, he's been an awful president. Like his favorability rating has tanked so much that there's probably, especially everything with ICE, there's probably a growing sentiment of like, okay, yeah, there has to be an appetite for people who, when he's done, want to see him and his administration held accountable for all of the shit that they've done, because a lot of it's illegal. And kind of like my stream title, kind of like some Nuremberg-like trials for accountability for all of the corruption that's happened. I mean, we use like Watergate to meme on different scandals, and it's like every single Trump scandal is like 10,000 times worse than Watergate. I don't understand, but whatever. Uh oh yeah, so there's that side where it's like, yeah, put all of these motherfuckers in jail. Because obviously this can't happen again. None of this should be incentivized. And then you have the other hand of the argument that's really more focused on like the I guess the optics of it. Alright, I'm gonna try and make my chat bigger because it feels like it's tiny. And the optics side of things is considering like, okay, there's a large contingent of voters in the United States who are conservative, right? And the idea of, quote unquote, going after Trump might not be uh, the best idea. In terms of optics, because then maybe less conservatives would be willing to vote for a Democratic candidate. Then there's also the notion of like there's a large demographic of Americans who either register or consider themselves independents. And it's like, would you be driving away those people by essentially doing something similar to what Trump is doing by saying, I'm going to have my Department of Justice um, pursue all of the corruption that was committed during the previous administration? And like, would that turn off that major swath of potential swing voters or even your base, right? Because one of the biggest areas of corruption we see is the Trump administration, or Trump directly telling his Department of Justice to go after his enemies or who he thinks are his enemies. But the thing is like, even with him doing that, a lot of those cases fall flat or get like laughed out of court because they have no merit. Whereas any cases of corruption brought post-Trump administration against like the cabinet or him in general would have tons of merit. I mean, like I said, they're just brazenly doing the corruption out in the open. They're not even trying to hide it. So there's one side that's like, yeah, put these motherfuckers in jail. I don't care. You should run on it. You should talk about it. It's a great thing. And there's the other side that's like, I agree. I don't like what's happening. I want to see accountability for it, but I don't think that anyone who's running for president should be anywhere near talking about it or advocating for it or running on a platform related to it. And I can kind of see that side of the argument, but at the same time, like, I mean, all so many of our institutions have been destroyed. Like, the cumulative amount of experience that we have lost in just the Department of Justice alone is tantamount to like thousands of years of experience by people who have been in those departments for so long, have all of this institutional knowledge, and were either pushed out because they worked on a Trump case or resigned because they were asked to do something that was against the law or against their morals. And so, like, definitionally, when it comes to justice, you want to punish people who break the law because you don't want the next person to come around and think that, well, they got away with it, so I can. Like, the juice can't be worth the squeeze with these things, right? I feel like to some extent, a lot of this goes back to Nixon. Like, if Gerald Ford had never pardoned Nixon and we had seen some type of accountability or the like, I don't know what you'd call it, for his crimes as president, maybe there would be some sort of, legal standing or legal precedent that would exist today that would have prevented a fucking insurrectionist being allowed to run uh, for president again. Like, the fact that he was allowed to run is just fucking insane to me. Like, I don't get it. And so many people don't even know about all of the shit that he pulled. Like, people have a vague understanding that there was riots on January 6th and that people broke in to Congress and like or the Capitol and did shit. But like if I were to ask the average person about the false elector scheme, they'd be like, "The what?" And that's not good. I feel like I'm rambling. I don't know. I guess too, it's hard when you're somebody who is really into politics and keeping up with all of the things that are happening. You you kind of develop an altered perspective of what you think the average person should think or what you think the average person should know. And so I feel like that's where this discourse is landing. Like a lot of us are saying like, "Oh, keep all this and this in mind because this is what voters think," when really we've no idea what the voters actually think. Um, ah, me to do that. You reminded me about a lot. I thought I didn't know much about politics, but I guess so much has happened that I just forgot all these things. That's exactly what I mean, right? There's so much. There's just so much shit that like every single fucking day something else is happening. There's another like scandal or distraction or crazy event that even if you tried to keep up with everything, it's impossible to hold all of these things in your head at once, it seems like. Uh, I think I'm just fascinated by the I feel like there's two groups of people who are like still staunchly supporting MAGA, and those are like there's like the true believers, right? Those are the cult followers. And then there's the grifters, those who they're in it for the money and to own the libs because that makes them feel good. And at this point, I'm befuddled as to how there are still so many. Ah, why does it keep doing that? Okay, we're good. My mouse is like too close to my. Keep like clicking it. I don't know. What do you think? What if we had a presidential nominee for the Democrats and they were like, when I start my administration, first thing I'm going to do is instruct our Department of Justice to evaluate all of the past corruption that's occurred. How'd that make you feel? Or would you care? Or would you be happy about it? I would be like, fuck. be fair, that's what Trump said too, is it not? Yeah, but that's different because he made up the corruption. Like the corruption he's talking about isn't real. But the corruption he's doing is, and it's causing a lot of damage. Like he tried to go after James Comey. And the reason why, so it's so fucking convoluted. The claim against James Comey was that he lied to Congress. And the lie that they said was that he claimed to have not leaked information to the press regarding one of Trump's investigations. Now, when he testified before Congress, I think it was Ted Cruz asked him a question, but the way the question was phrased, there was like no way for him to answer it that would allow him to like maintain the truth behind what he was saying. So there was another person who worked for him who was authorized to speak to the media who did share the information that he's accused of sharing to like CNN or some shit. And he actually got fired because when he was initially asked about it by the FBI, he said, "No, I didn't share that information." Then he called them back and said, "You know what? Actually, I forgot when you guys asked me, but I did actually share that information." And so lying to the FBI is considered a felony. So he was immediately fired from his job. But when he testified before Congress, he explicitly said that it was him who shared the information. Now, when James Comey testified, they tried to like confuse him and say, "Oh, well, like your subordinate said you said this." And so James Comey was like, "I can only speak to my testimony, and my testimony is that I didn't share this information." So the facts are clear that Comey did not leak any information to news outlets. And even if he did, he was probably authorized to. So the Trump administration tried to get him indicted for lying to Congress, which he did not lie. And he was indicted, which there's this adage that says you can indict a ham sandwich because the defense isn't allowed to present their case. It's just the prosecution presenting all of the evidence they have available to them. The indictment was so questionable that Comey's lawyers sued to have the transcripts unsealed to see what information was used to indict him. And once that was unsealed, they found out that the Trump administration basically used a bunch of bullshit that they shouldn't have and lied to the grand jury, also kept them longer than they should have, and made implications that they wouldn't be able to leave until they came back with an indictment. So that indictment was bullshit. It got thrown out. They tried 3 more times to indict him and couldn't do it because it's a bullshit case. Then they tried to do the same thing with the Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, which they didn't even have like a legitimate crime they could indict her for. One of Trump's secretaries went through all of her housing records and like tax history or some shit like that and found an instance where she bought a house think in like Virginia, and didn't check a box that said it wasn't her primary residence. And so they tried to indict her on mortgage fraud. Really? That's what the Trump administration's DOJ should be doing? Is going after our New York Attorney General for mortgage fraud? And that indictment got thrown out too because it was baseless. It had no foundation. And it was just so obvious that they were just looking for things to indict people on because Trump didn't like them, or they did things that he perceived as slights that needed to be punished. He threatened to go after California Senator Adam Schiff for the same thing. Like, they're actively combing through people's like financial records just to find something to press charges, which is insane. And on the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who held classified documents at his residences after he left office, explicitly knew they were classified, and explicitly showed people who had no security clearance the information on the documents. And then when he was asked by the National Archives to return the documents, refused to do it. When he was asked by the FBI, refused to do it. When they tried to arrange a time for him to return the documents, had his assistants move them to his Bedford residence. Bedford? Bedford residence, or hide them in different rooms at Mar-a-Lago, like in the bathroom. That's like legitimate, like he's dead to rights on that case. And that's like something that could impact our national security. Not to mention the whole insurrection thing and like getting the false slate of electors to lie about who won the election to make him president falsely, and then inciting a riot of a group of people by telling them that the election was stolen and sending them down to the Capitol so that they would violently threaten Congress and encourage them to impose his will. It's just like they're just like not comparable. And I think that's why there's this hesitance where you have a guy who's saying, oh my God, all of this corruption happened. Everybody's out to get me. They're all liars and cheats and losers. And I'm innocent and they're just attacking me. And then you have the other side that's like, well, wait a second. He's actually doing all of this stuff that he's accusing other people of. So we should hold him accountable for that. And then you have this like third group of people who are like, really? Because you're acting just like him now. And it's like, what? No. I don't even know. But that's what I mean, right? Like, you're vaguely familiar with what's going on. And even you were like, well, to be fair, that's what Trump said too. Like, to the average voter, what would they want to hear? or what would they not want to hear?